Have you ever been to a place that feels like it contradicts itself? A surreal, exciting, almost liminal space. For example, somewhere that is somehow simultaneously well kept and abandoned. There's obvious signs of life. You can tell that something is slightly different each time you return, and yet it always feels frozen in time. The air itself is nostalgic for a moment you can faintly recognize from the stories and anecdotes of those older than yourself. All around are framed images of years long ago you couldn't possibly have known, but find yourself longing for all the same. Messages from the past call out your name, beckoning you to events impossible to attend, taking place at specific dates and times that have long since already happened. Perhaps time moves on, but the space does not. The seasons pass by gracefully there, yet something mysterious built into the nature of it all seemingly longs for days long ago. If you had a place like that in mind just now, that's good. If you feel the same as I do, if you feel that same eagerness and excitement to return again and again to these kinds of places, to crack open closed doors like time capsules, take note of what has changed since your last visit, and discover a new story hiding in every corner, that's very good. That means you'll easily be able to sit back and relax as I show you what I have found at the Greenspring campus of Stevenson University. To start our little history lesson, it is important to note that before Stevenson was Stevenson, it was Villa Julie College, an all-girls school founded by Catholic nuns in 1947. In 1967, Villa Julie would separate itself from the Catholic Church and go independent. This decision led to a dramatic increase in enrollment over time, and in 1971, the Greenspring campus got major additions in the form of the Art Wing, Learning Resource Center, and Student Center. Now ready for anything, the college enrolled its first male students the following year of 1972. 1985 would bring a new lab building, and a decade later in 1995, the college's quote-unquote master plan would commence. The 90s would form most of the Greenspring campus as we know it, with additions of the Dawson Center, Inscape Theater, Manazak Center, Greenspring Gymnasium, and the Science Center, as well as numerous revamps and upgrades of computer labs and equipment as technology evolved. However, perhaps it's inaccurate to say most of the campus as we know it, because depending on when you went to Stevenson, what you know about Greenspring could be nothing at all. If you are a currently enrolled student, for example, unless you're a part of the Psych Masters program, the marching band, theater department, or tennis team, you are unlikely to even step foot on Greenspring campus. Even if you are, you probably haven't been inside more than a couple buildings. In fact, roughly half of the campus is closed and locked 24/7. Most of the people still working at Greenspring consists of admin, librarians, and security. There is also a janitorial crew from outside Stevenson that is hired to regularly clean up the active portions of campus for everyone who hasn't moved out, and clean out the inactive portions for whoever might move in next. Most offices on Greenspring are empty and abandoned. It's creepy, yet alluring. Some spaces are left in such a state that you'd think someone was still working there if it wasn't for the thick layer of dust and dirt covering every item. So what caused all this? Why was the campus abandoned by faculty and students alike? The answer is a massive cover-up of insane proportions and an equally massive leak of nuclear radiation. Just kidding. Really, they just built a shiny new campus and left the old one behind. Also, there's lead in the water. Guess that's why they call it Greenspring. In 2004, the students finally get a place to live in Owings Mills, a 20-minute drive away from all their classes. Better than before for most people, but not very convenient compared to some other colleges. What follows is a series of major land acquisitions and developments. In 2008, Villa Julie completely rebrands into Stevenson University. From that point on and continuing into the present day, classes and student activities begin to transfer to the shiny new dorms, dining, sports fields, classrooms, and offices, as they're all eventually constructed one by one. All the while, the Greenspring campus gets emptier and emptier. However, there are still a few teachers who have Greenspring offices they regularly use, namely those of the aforementioned band and theater departments. I had the pleasure of interviewing these teachers, and their accounts of Greenspring's evolution into its current state of limbo were quite enlightening.
I am the director of the music program, and I was hired here in 2011 to be the director of bands, and then I eventually ended up taking over the director of music.
All right, so my name is Chris Krosik. I am the technical director for the theater and media performance department. So when I started at Stevenson in 2009, we had just finished the transition from Villa Julie College to Stevenson University. So half of the people here were still calling it Villa Julie, the other half were now calling it Stevenson. I think the next big transition that I saw since I've been here was probably 6 or 7 years ago now, when we really started to bring online the Owings Mills campus. At that time, before then, if you got here at 10 o'clock in the morning, you were parking all the way in the back of the parking lot. There was, this campus was packed. And now, you guys probably saw it when folks come over now, you could park anywhere. There's really not a lot of people around. So that's probably the biggest change that I've seen.
So when I came here in 2011, it was hard for me to find a parking space. If I got here, 10 or 11 o'clock in the morning, everything was filled. So just imagine all the students, all the classes being here. So it was a lot of frenetic activity and very vibrant.
However, although the parking may be easier at Greenspring these days, many other tasks have become somewhat harder.
We would do a lot of things down here, like all of our rehearsals. Now we're over on the other campus, but sometimes I split between three campuses. So I'll be at Greenspring doing some things in my office. I have an office at Owings Mills North where I teach, and then we teach the band things over either in the in the gym over there or in the stadium. So having 3 campuses to go to instead of just 1 or maybe 2, it's challenging, but it's all doable.
We obviously don't have as many students here on a daily basis, so oftentimes finding student workers is difficult. Folks don't typically want to drive over here for just an hour or 2 of work. Staying on task sometimes is a little more difficult when you're here by yourself. So in the past, the vibe on campus, this was a pretty vibrant, campus. Our backstage area, the green room, used to be a real gathering place, not only for theater students, but also at that point in time, film, video, and theater was the same department. I remember the green room used to get so loud that the teachers that were in the black box used to always come out and yell at the kids in the green room to be quiet because they couldn't teach class. There was too much noise going on backstage.
It was very vibrant, like Owings Mills, because everybody was on this campus. Sub Connection, which was directly behind me, had the best subs. And I would teach my music tech class, and I would be done at like 2 or 3 in the afternoon. I'd have a couple hours in between before we had 5 o'clock band, and then I would go to Sub Connection and get these subs or the wraps that they had. And everybody who worked there, they knew what I wanted, and it was really cool. So my connection is to the food at Sub Connection.
When we had more people on this campus, it always surprised me the number of people that were out on the swing set. For being a college campus, it was always the place that you could find students. And there was actually a time where some construction was done and the old swing set was actually uprooted out of the ground and moved. And they were just saying there didn't have swings on it. And the number of people that you would hear complain, like, what happened to the swings? Like just the simple, you wouldn't think that for 18 to 20-some-year-olds, somebody would be upset about the swing set no longer being there. But it really was something that I think a lot of the students, for some reason, like to sit out on. I've said that we have the Psych Masters program that is here sometimes in the mornings, but there are some days where if I come in at the right time, I really won't see another person unless I actively go to another building. So it gets pretty quiet.
In 2019, the mood on campus shifted once again when the Greenspring campus was reported to potentially be up for sale.
I remember when there was a lot of talk about the Greenspring campus being for sale. It was like the best, worst kept secret around that we were trying to sell the campus. I don't know that it was ever, actually I do. There was a listing posted that I remember seeing. I don't know that anyone really took it that seriously, just knowing how much money they were asking for it. And it was one of those like, oh, ha, 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 yeah, we're trying to sell the campus, but we're still here.
Even though Greenspring has yet to be sold, Every time I return to the campus, there are clear signs of clearing out. It's a strange transitional period in many areas, as something different is either packed up, broken down, or missing entirely on each new visit. As the campus prepares for something new, I found it hard to resist the urge to come back to these spots repeatedly and record them in their current states before they completely change. While frantically searching for the reasons behind this transitional period, I talked to event coordinator Robert Reed, who advised me not to film in December as things could get hectic. According to him and other reliable sources, this is because portions of the campus are being given to police and fire departments for training purposes. It is comforting to learn that some unused offices and perhaps other locations could have use again, but for the time being, most of Greenspring remains quiet and empty. When it comes to what will happen to the campus, only a handful of people actually have a concrete idea of what Greenspring's future looks like. For everyone else, there seemingly hasn't been much communication about the subject from higher up.
I got the email last week that Baltimore County Fire and Police were going to be using this as a safety training area. We got the word in the summer that some of our offices may be moved, or we need to move out of some offices, and we were given other space to do that. But other than that, I don't know who, what, when, or why.
I am not 100% certain what the future for this campus brings. I've jokingly said to people, it depends on if it's an odd day or an even day of the month, what phase is the moon, or what season are we in is going to kind of change the story or the narrative that you hear. I've heard everything, that they're trying to sell it, that they're trying to rent it. I really don't know. I don't think anybody has a definitive answer. I don't see us getting away from this campus for the next couple of years, only because until another facility that seats a large number of people is constructed, this theater space still has the largest seating capacity of any venue that the university owns. So, I don't know. It's going to be an interesting couple of year transition, I think.
For a short while, there were plans for such a facility at Owings Mills North. But in 2020, the COVID-19 pandemic would bring that same quiet emptiness affecting Greenspring to Owings Mills and the rest of the world at large. More importantly to our story, however, it also brought a change of plans.
So the new library that's being constructed right now, in its original plan, included a theater facility within it. Those plans have obviously changed. And now that facility is going to be moved into another building, which is really exciting. I'm interested to see what the future brings for us. I'd love to know what the real plan is here. With timing, with what they're going to use this campus for. Are we still going to be here? I look forward to a time that I am actually off of this campus, not because I want to leave, but it'll be nice to be back into the main student population of the university, and have our program more easily accessed by everybody.
As one door closes, another opens. So maybe all the new campus and new building will bring other opportunities for all of us.
Regardless of what the future holds, the one common thread that almost everyone agrees on is that there's something special about the campus.
I would still like to see some sort of homage to Villa Julie and Stevenson, because it's still part of who we are and our DNA. If they were to sell it or tear it down or something like that, I think that would be tough for a lot of people, because there's so many people that had a part of this.
I don't know how I feel about the future of Greenspring. I love this campus. I'm really not a fan of Owings Mills. I just don't really like that campus. The Owings Mills North is a little different for me, that I feel a little bit more a kinship to that location, being more like this. At least there's some trees. Thinking about the eventual departure from this campus is difficult, knowing the history of the college and of the university and its founding location. I know that there have been projects that have been started of how to best capture elements of Greenspring in other locations. Gosh, I don't know. It's a mixed emotion. I look forward to the future, but what's a good word for it? But understand the past, and it's going to be a tough transition.
When I visit Greenspring, I always feel as though there's a story around every corner. But I think the tragic thing is that for every single farewell note I find, there's likely 1,000 more things left unsaid. Many workers seemingly left this campus with no idea they wouldn't return. Perhaps that's why the campus feels haunted. Unfinished business, so to speak. Not out of malice, but out of love. Spirits coming back to visit the location of so many of their favorite memories. Regardless of whether or not ghosts are real, there are many people alive and well who love the campus. Librarians, janitors, and security who all work to take care of the location and keep as much of it organized, clean, and safe as possible, despite the diminished number of teachers and students there to appreciate it. Now that I know its history, I see parts of Greenspring completely differently. I never knew, for example, how many students cherish the swing set, but there's a certain irony in how the popular hangout spot is now completely free at all times of day. I wonder how those same students would feel if they returned today and saw it empty. It's very bittersweet, I imagine. No longer having to wait your turn, but also having nobody to swing with. How many other nostalgic spots are there on campus that would send fond memories rushing back for anyone who returned? I suppose, in the process of making this documentary, searching for answers in history, looking for stories in every corner before they fade away, I have developed fond memories of Greenspring myself. Perhaps if you ever decide to visit, you will find something interesting hiding in a corner as well, and make many new memories exploring an empty old campus. I'm Ethan Rapp. Thank you for watching.
Say that again?
If I have any usable footage, it'll be one of my greatest accomplishments.
I'm sure you will.